Hi. Super excited to bring you more conversations with students to help provide perspective on how to do online successfully, advice and suggestions and insights, all brought from the folks who've actually been experiencing it all along. So this is going to be a short conversation with Casey Pavlicek. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Pavlicek, yeah.
Okay, who is a UCF online student and has been for a long time. So you have a lot of experience with this. Can you share with folks kind of what made you choose to be online in the past?
Originally, I went to class in the class, and then whenever I had my kids, it was just kind of really hard to be able to cut out time because I have 4-year-old twins and a 2-year-old, so it's really hard for me to navigate that. So online was my only option if I wanted to go to school.
Great. Well, I'm so glad that that existed, even to be able to pursue. And you're getting a degree in political science.
Yes.
Very cool. And you don't live in the Orlando area. So as well, you also have access to education that you don't have to physically be there for. So,
Right.
um, so can you share some tips and tricks if you had to give yourself advice starting over online? I'm sure there was probably some trepidation. What would you tell yourself that you feel like you now know to help set yourself on the right path to, manage the workload and manage the fact that you're in a home all the time?
I think the advice I'd give myself is to make a calendar. That was something that I didn't do originally. Making a calendar and dedicating days off was a big thing because if you're only working on the fly and you are feel like you're working every day, it's really easy to get burnout.
Yeah, and I feel like especially right now where everyone's having a really hard time with the weekends feel the same as the weekdays and past after 5 p.m. We're not going anywhere, so therefore it all feels the same. And I'm sensing that people are getting they're having a much harder time with burnout because it feels like we're working harder than we were before, but yet everyone has kids at home or the extra stress of what's going on. So I think that's
Exactly.
great advice. Anything that for you was surprising about going online that you feel like for folks who are, I'm hearing some students be like upset about having to transition online as if universities planned this whole thing, and which we did not. We were making the best of it. But do you have any, when you first tried going online, did you have any perception and expectations that you were then surprised because it was actually better or worse?
It's definitely been better for me because I've always been the type of person where if I am not interested in what you're saying, I kind of
Mhm.
zone out. Or if I am, in a class and I'm thinking about like a test in another class, it's really hard to separate the two. So it's great that when you go online, you have the opportunity to just focus on one thing at a time. And because you'll have time set aside to study for that test. You don't have to be, okay, I got to stop what I'm doing. I have to go to another class. I have to sit in class, wait for this time, and then dedicate extra time on top of that.
Okay, that's great. Have you figured out? I having children at home, very challenging right now. Plus school. Anything that's helping? Because I know it's like any past solutions folks had if it was childcare. Folks who were lucky enough to have childcare, that's not there. So I don't know how folks are juggling that in this moment.
I've never had childcare doing online schooling. So the majority of the work that I get done, as soon as they go to sleep, that's when I get my uninterrupted time. And I carve that time out 5 days a week, carve that time out. And if I need to study extra, then I get up before they get up. Because if you have somebody, Mommy, I'm thirsty. Mommy, can I have a snack? You have to break it up. And then you're like, okay, where was I? So if you do it when you know that they're going to be asleep, at least even if they wake up constantly, like my 2-year-old wakes up all the time. So if I know that I have 2 hours before he wakes up, then I utilize that time. I don't waste time. I do love Netflix. I do love watching TV, but that's carved out time too.
Yeah, that's great. So maybe not online is allowing you to be as flexible as possible in this moment. So you definitely,
Absolutely. Yeah.
I don't know if you don't have, do you have any classes where you have to actually be on at a certain time because you're sitting there watching? Because I know a lot of students right now, that's what they're getting is it's not something that's pre-recorded. They have to kind of physically be there.
Being an online only student, I actually haven't had any classes where I had to just, I had a time where I had to sit down and do that. Um, No, I haven't. So it's just I work at my own pace, and it's a lot easier for me that way.
That's great.
I don't
Yeah,
have to stop my day.
that's helpful because I was just talking to someone who just relocated from the East Coast to the West Coast because of COVID, and their classes were typically at 9 a.m. and they're still holding them at that time. So there's no adjustment. And so 6 a.m., a college sophomore getting up and having to do classes, like that seems like a place where we need to be much more thoughtful about adapting. So I'm glad to hear that you don't have to deal with that. Any other stuff that you've heard in terms of advice from other students? I know that you're part of an advisory council for UCF to help make sure that their online experience is as amazing as possible. What other things have you heard from your fellow students about that has helped them and that you would offer for students who are struggling with kind of this transition in the midst of everything?
You really have to give yourself grace. It's really easy to um, get caught up in what's going on, especially because we're not only dealing with transitioning from in class to online. We're dealing with a lot of other things, whether it's you're out of work or you have your kids at home. You have to give yourself grace. You have to structure. You have to be able to say, you know what, I need to stop right now. I'll pick it up later, but give yourself grace. Make a calendar. It's too easy to get burnout. It's too easy to get overwhelmed. So
That's very helpful. I don't know how I mean, I have such empathy for students, and I've been talking to a lot of students about this, because, in the midst of this, I just have my job to do, and I don't have children to take care of, but even that just existing as a human being right now in this moment is pretty hard for everyone. And so adding on top of it, trying to pursue a big goal like a degree, and not be distracted. I feel like I'm so glad that folks are moving towards a lot more flexibility. But yeah, I think everyone, and I'm hearing from faculty as well, that they need grace as well, because they don't have this is a new skill. So I
yeah.
think that is some very thoughtful wisdom. So and for folks who are trying to kind of figure out how to set themselves up for success, are there any tools or things that you use regularly that you really just makes online for you really work? I know some people might use, obviously we live off Google Docs, but if there's anything in particular that has is a technology tool or anything else that you would offer up for folks?
I'm actually like a really a pen and paper kind of person. So having like I said, a set schedule, but not just saying like, oh, I'm going to do my schoolwork during this time. It's that I know what I'm doing when I sit down to do it. So I know a lot of professors who have done online before, they have a set schedule. So your discussion boards are due a certain day, your quizzes are due a certain day, and it's a lot of like you said, the professors haven't taught this online before. They don't know how to structure it. So you have to structure it yourself. So when you sit down at the end of the day or whatever time you want you carve out for yourself, you have to know what you're doing. Don't don't just sit down and say, okay, I'm going to do class work for this
Mhm.
class. Sit down and say, okay, I have a discussion board due. So, whether it's like before you sit down or the day before, you are really focusing on exactly what you're supposed to be doing.
That's super helpful. My light went out and I was just improvising on the fly to get another power source, because that's how we do it. So no, I think that's helpful. And I think that using physical paper in particular, I was just thinking, like, if I'm doing online classes and I worry about being productive, I can't just get on the internet,
No.
especially. In fact, I would say avoid the internet until you
Yeah.
have a plan for what
Don't
you're
sit
going to
there
do
and be
online.
on your phone, your calendar on your phone, because it's too easy to get distracted.
All right. Okay. This is good stuff. And in terms of resources that have been really useful for you within at UCF, and we hope other institutions have them, are there offices in particular that you reach out to the most that you think have like I've talked to students who were like, financial aid secretly, like it's not just about money. They actually have great advice or advising. If there's anything in particular that you say has been like super helpful that folks should reach out to.
My academic advisor, Dr. Shank. He's amazing. And if you have a question, he will answer it. I know a lot aren't so reachable, but that's always been great for me. No, not just, if you're trying to figure out your classes, it's just figuring out everything in between. They're there to help you.
Yeah, academic advisors they are the best people in higher education. I mean, I love everybody, but academic advisors in particular, they are just, they are really, truly incredible people. So this has been super helpful. I really appreciate you taking the time. I'm so impressed that you're doing all of this in the midst of everything else, and then in a leadership position with other students. So if there's any way we can be of support to you, please do not hesitate to reach out. Now you have my work and personal email. So
Thank you.
for folks who are at home, we're going to continue interviewing students and faculty who have either advice for others or who are going through this and have learned something new in the last week that they want to share to the broader community. So if there's someone in particular you want to see us interview, or if you yourself have some insights to share, our goal here is to just we think that ideas should be spreading faster, and we try and create a little bit of a community campfire here on a daily basis. So thanks so much, and everybody have a great day.